Welcome to the World at Work bookshelf. I'm Ryan Johnson. Today I have the pleasure of sitting across from Jerry Colletti, who's a longtime World at Work faculty member, and certainly one of the thought leaders in the sales compensation space. In the last couple of years, Jerry's authored 2 books for World at Work, Sales Compensation Essentials and Sales Compensation Math. Jerry, thanks for coming in.
Hey Ryan, always great to be with you.
So Jerry, question number 1 is, 2009, obviously a very difficult year. What did we see happening with sales compensation plans last year?
Well, there were 2 fairly strong indicators of the economy's impact on sales forces. The first is the percentage of salespeople that did not achieve their quota. And the second is actually the downturn that we're seeing in total cash compensation levels for sales forces. First, with respect to quotas, we actually saw last year a 20 to 25% decline in the number of salespeople that actually achieved quota. In a recent CSO Insights survey, 1,050 some companies reported that they expected about 52% of their salespeople to actually achieve quota. That's down from 65% as recent as 2007, which was one of the better years in our economy. The second thing that we saw in terms of impact on sales forces this last year was the tremendous number of companies that reduced their workforce, their sales workforce. And for the first time in 20 years, we're seeing, for example, in the technology industry, an actual decline in target cash compensation levels that were reported at the end of last year, projected for this year, a decline of anywhere from 5 to 10%. So clearly what's happening is that the law of supply and demand has come into play. There are a lot of talented salespeople that were downsized or let go during this wave of the economic downturn, and as a result, companies are either holding the line or they're actually offering compensation levels that are less.
Jerry, we know from the World at Work sales comp survey that you helped us produce that one of the big reasons for change in 2009 was to reduce complexity and also to bring better alignment. Are you seeing that evidence in your practice?
Essentially, this is 2 sides of the same coin. The focus on simplicity that many companies have been striving for is essentially to bring sharper focus to their business strategies and objectives, and to make those business strategies and objectives more visible to the sales force. So what was interesting is in the 2008 survey, we saw 37% of respondents indicate they were striving for simplicity. In the 2009 survey, we saw the same 37% of the respondents indicate a focus on simplicity. So the question is, why all of this interest in simplicity? Well, I think it is relatively straightforward, and the reason is that companies are essentially striving to do 2 things. And as reported in the survey, number 1 is they're striving to use their sales compensation plans to drive increased sales profitability. I think a very interesting finding in the survey was that 35% of the companies reported more emphasis on plan design to change their plans to focus on sales profitability, up from 22% in 2008. Interestingly, the other dimension of business strategy that got a real uptick in response was a focus on new business, meaning either bringing or attracting new customers to the organization or selling more effectively new products. 35% of the respondents in the 2009 survey reported that that was a key priority in making a change in their plans for the upcoming year. Contrast that to only 22% that reported that finding in 2008. So I think the conclusion, Ryan, is essentially this, that high margin businesses are looking to use sales compensation plan to drive increased market share, to attract new customers, to sell new products successfully. That lower margin businesses are essentially focused on improving the profitability of the business that they have, and as they attract new business, making sure that that's profitable business for the enterprise.
Now, maybe consistent with what you were just saying, you've got a new white paper on your website that talks about 2010 being a year of additional tweaking, not major overhaul. I think the word you used was tweaking. Can you just talk a little bit about what you're seeing, some of the trends?
Well, I think that the focus on tweaking it makes a great deal of sense for companies that made a mid-year course correction. In 2009, it was pretty clear by the time we got to mid to late summer that companies were not on plan, and they were not on plan because they had set very aggressive growth objectives for 2009 in the context of the fall 2008. And it is typically the case with large multi-division, multi-business unit organizations. In the October-November time frame of 2008, they locked in or locked down their 2009 plans. Well, so here we go sledding into 2009, and by the spring we find that those plans aren't as realistically achievable as we would have thought. So many companies made significant changes in their plans on or around the 1st of July of 2009. Some of them increased the performance range over which they were paying. That is, they lowered the threshold. They brought down the performance excellence point so that they could get more salespeople in the game. For those companies that made mid-year changes, going into 2010 essentially made some tweaks. And it actually, when you think about it, it makes a great deal of sense because the sales force is looking for some stability. They're looking for the stability in the compensation plan in terms of what they can earn, and actually they're looking for the opportunity this year to be able to get back on track with their performance